Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, PBM, Customers Bank, Collins Building Services, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, Marks Paneth, Capital One Bank. Additional funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from Amerant Bank, Bank of America, Citizens Bank, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Catsimatidis Red Apple Group, Keysight Capital Partners, New Banks, Meridian Capital Group, Ocean First Bank, People's United Bank, RPW Group, TD Bank, and these friends. Do you know where the best wine is from? It's from Long Island. It's from the North Fork. And today, with the help of my executive producer, Kareem Massoud, I'm going to talk about what's happening in the wine country of the North Fork. My guests include Gabriella McCary, who is the general manager of McCary Vineyard. Kareem Massoud, as I said to you, who's the winemaker and the proprietor at Palmer Vineyards and president of the Long Island Wine Country. And last but not least, the newest person to be in the wine business over here, from Mexico City, Maria Rivero Gonzalez, the CEO of RGNY Wine Company. So Maria, you have two places. Do you handle both the wine country here and Mexico City?
Yeah, so actually I'm in the north part of Mexico. It's northeastern part, right below Texas. It's a little town called Parras, and it is actually the oldest wine growing region in the whole continent. So I come and go. I'm in Mexico right now.
So tell us what's happening in your North Fork operation and how the difference over there is from Mexico to the North Fork.
I fell in love with the North Fork 4 years ago when I first went there. I had lived in New York City before, and I hadn't discovered this beautiful area, and it's being so close to New York, I was so surprised. I'm the new kid on the fork now, and it's been such a cool, fun ride. It's so different from Mexico. The weather, the climate is completely different. There you have a lot of water and humidity, whereas here you have all of this dryness. You're in the middle of the desert. So it's very, very challenging and different ways of making wine, right? And growing grapes.
Let's talk about the challenges during COVID. Okay, I mean, some of you really came to be creative. You created these igloos, okay, and you were able to put these people in the igloo. But a lot of your business was always tasting, where people would come out to the place and taste your wine, or they had the wine clubs. So how did you adapt, Gabriella?
Oh, it's been quite the year and quite the challenge, and we had to get really creative. The first thing we did was just ramp up delivery. So we did a lot of local delivery, and we realized that there was incredible demand for our wine in the Hamptons and within a 30-mile radius. So the delivery was enormous, and we actually started advertising a little bit on the internet, right? So advertising our e-commerce page and selling more wine online. People, I think, just realized that you can buy wine online, and it's a tremendous eye-opening experience, and it can be there in 5 minutes if you want, because we're right down the road. So the delivery ramped up, and then we decided to create private tasting spaces, and we felt that people really wanted to be in private settings once we reopened. So we have actually platform tents, and we still talk about wine. So we still connect with the guests before they sit down, talk to them about our vineyard, talk to them about the North Fork, which is incredibly important, and pour a flight of wines and pair it with food and really leave the guests to be in their own area, very safe. So major pivot and a lot of learning.
Kareem, you're the president of the Long Island Wine Country. Talk to me about what's happening, the association, how many people are involved, and what's the general feeling in regard to now the vaccine and so on.
So we have about 30 members, member wineries in our organization. And I think the general sentiment and mood is very upbeat and positive. I think a lot of us and our customers all have cabin fever and are looking to get out after the winter and after COVID, or even though COVID's not quite over. But there's this sense, we already saw that last summer, when we were able to reopen with a lot of visitor traffic, some visitor traffic like we hadn't seen before in many cases. I think some of us are seeing record numbers for March and April, and so we're bracing for what could be, a very, very busy season.
I mean, I think there was an article written that you were quoted, or a couple of you were quoted, that it's like Christmas time this year, okay? Because the good and the bad, and I know this in New York City, that some of the wine and liquor stores are busier than ever, okay? Because the consumption is up.
Location. If you're in the right location, some stores were really telling that story where they were posting Christmas numbers throughout the year. And I think for many of the wineries, we got some of that, especially in the summer and the fall. And right now in 2021, I mean, for this time of year, March and April, we're seeing numbers that, we normally don't see until the summertime. So it's exciting.
Many of you have been doing a lot of, the internet wines, due to the advertising, like Gabriella was saying over there. Okay, and that you've been offering free delivery and other approaches. That was something that you never really did before.
I think it made everyone pivot a little bit, right? And made us be creative in terms of how to reach our customers once they were in their houses. I'm sure everyone has done also a lot of virtual tastings, right? So we get groups and we get them together in Zoom, and you take the experience home to them. So there has been a lot of outreaching from the vineyards to the customers now.
Now, as the new kid on the block, you bought the property in 2018. Are you reaching your expectations, you and your father and the family?
Yes, I mean, definitely COVID has made us pivot. As Gabriela said, we were only starting wholesale that year in January, and March hit us with COVID. So of course our wholesale expectations were a complete disaster. But then the tasting room was really full during summer. We had a lot of people coming to the North Fork, and then we had people staying in the North Fork throughout the year. Whereas before it used to be more of a few months a year, now people are staying. And we're kind of transforming our GNY into an experience-based tasting room. So we don't want people to just come in and have a glass of wine. We want to really have an experience for them. Whereas it be something where they can blend a wine and they can learn to blend, or they can just hang out with their friends and have like a personalized experience for whatever they want. But make it a little bit different and a little, if you will, an upgrade for people to be out there and want to be there have a good time with us outside, right?
So here's the question, maybe for Gabriella and Kareem. Before COVID, you had a portion of your business was catering. You'd have dinners, you'd have events, you had weddings, you had other situation. Right now, things are changing, but in place right now, you still can't have the same type of crowds. How are you adapting your businesses to that, Gabriella?
I think I would just sort of echo what Maria said, is really just creating an experience for the guest. And we were joking this weekend in the tasting room, we're doing sort of micro events every single day, right? So there was a group celebrating a birthday, and they arrived at 11, and we went down into the cellar. Everyone had masks on. Of course, we're still being really safe, but We were in the cellar. We spoke about fermentation. We spoke about what 2020 vintage looked like. We spoke about how incredible the whites are right now tasting, in barrel. And then we guided everyone outside and they had lunch. And these experiences, I think, are replacing sort of those mega big tasting, big sort of like weddings or events like that. We pulled back personally as a winery in 2017. We no longer host events. Very rarely on a case-by-case basis are there evening events. So I think the focus on education and experience is really taking off for all of us, I would say.
Kareem, what about you in events, for both Pominock and Palmer?
So it's a pretty similar at both Pominock and Palmer. We don't do a lot of big events. We will host a wedding from time to time if people are interested in doing that, but we don't do a lot of that. And so our focus is really more on the guest experience. We really focus on the wine, and when people come to our winery, some people are actually booking a tour where they're showing a very high level of interest, and and often I'm doing the tour myself and doing like really in-depth discussion on how we grow wine on Long Island. But not everyone's looking for that level of engagement. They just want to come and enjoy some wine, and so we're here for that too. And so COVID, we were sort of heading into a table service oriented business model before COVID anyway, but COVID really pushed us into that model. And so now we're reservations only, or especially on the weekend. I mean, we'll always try to accommodate walk-ins, but by going to reservations only, we're really sort of creating an experience, a hospitality experience that's very similar to what you might go through in a fine dining experience. When you make the reservation, there's outreach from the establishment confirming your reservation and what to expect, and that really helps, I think, for everyone, both the guest and the winery, to deliver an outstanding hospitality experience.
Okay, the new kid on the block bought a very large vineyard. When you and your father and the family bought the vineyard, what was your thoughts of what you were going to do with it?
Definitely vineyard came first for us. We are a family owned vineyard in Mexico, and it's a business that I started with my father 13 years ago, and expanding the brand to another location has been the most important thing for us. So that's what really I've been doing for the last 2 years. I have also been consulting with real estate bigger companies so they can give me advice on how to do a master plan. We do have development rights there, but if we do something, we want to do something that is very well organized and that has to do with the wine. So if we end up doing a development there and doing a few houses, we want everything to become part of a lifestyle that has to do with wine.
Kareem and Gabriela, you've been in this business since you were kids, basically, both of you in the business. How has the world changed, especially the perception of the North Fork wine business?
I always joke about child labor, but it's not funny. In my view, we have never ever seen this increased agro-tourism. We've never seen the demand for visitation. We had this Saturday, we had 220 people on the wait list just to get a seat. And last September when we opened, there were over 900 people on a Saturday on a wait list. So we're tracking our wait list. And for me, that's the biggest shock, is the increase in demand. And I think that's coming because people are finally realizing that there are local wines that they should support that are delicious. And I think when we first started, we were sort of navigating our reputation and navigating winemaking and viticulture. And now finally we're making some of the best wines ever in New York State. And people are catching on and they're coming. And that's, for me, that's the biggest change, I think.
Kareem?
Yeah, well said, Gabriela. I think, New Yorkers and Long Islanders have been embracing Long Island wine for decades. But there was always sort of, I think, a segment of the market that wasn't quite there, and now that segment, I think, is coming around, where you're just seeing a bigger embrace, and where people, there's no longer any question as to the quality of the wine. It's just how do I get it, and how soon can I get back out to and enjoy Long Island wine country.
So,
And
with regard to that, how is your wine, with the exception of being sold via your vineyards, do you have distributors, or do you have, who are distributing it to stores and to local merchants?
So, I mean, for example, Pomanock, we do have a distributor in New York City and upstate New York and New Jersey. That's VOS Selections. But on Long Island, in Nassau County and Suffolk County, we're self-distributed for both Pomanock and Palmer, where we sell directly to stores and restaurants across Long Island.
Gabriella?
Same, yeah. Oh, very much the same. Just small distributor, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and I always talk about how my dream was to sell our wine in London and sell our wine in Chicago and San Francisco. But you realize that New York doesn't know New York yet, so you really want to educate your local community first, and that's where we are. And with the increased visitation, our direct-to-consumer numbers have skyrocketed as well. So that's where most of our wines are being sold, right here out of the cellar.
With regard to that, I believe that all of you are what they call AVA. Would you explain to my viewers what AVA means for the wine business?
AVA is American Viticultural Area. So it's the equivalent in French of Appellation Contrôlée, or in Europe, each country has its own designation, but in the States it's AVA. And so North Fork of Long Island is our AVA. There's also the Hamptons, and then there's Long Island, which is an umbrella AVA that encompasses the other two and parts further west.
Doesn't this also include that the grapes have to come from the North Fork?
That's right. For the AVA to be labeled as such, at least 85% of the fruit has to come from within that AVA, and I believe 95% of it has to come from within the state.
With regard to the COVID, how did you fare with regard to the PPP and your employees and so on? Because basically you take care of the community, a number of these communities.
That was really important for me. We didn't furlough anyone. We kept everyone going, and with the delivery, we hired delivery drivers. We were able to keep our full-time team going based on packing. We turned into like a shipping warehouse, really. And we were happy to do it. And then we got a little creative. We gave everyone everyone that worked for us. And even if you worked for us, 3 years ago, you got a discount code with your name on it, and you can sell McCary wine to your friends and family. And we would give you a commission if you sold with your discount code. So we really tried to get creative and keep people going, and people made some great commission based on those sales. But that was absolutely number one, was to keep the team. They're like family, really. A lot of our team has worked here for over 10 years.
What do you see this year, with the new crop? What do you see? Any new changes in wines or anything, especially the new kid over there?
I'm excited because last year we bought a few amphoras, and we did some skin contact whites in amphoras. So we're kind of going back to basics and to the older ways of doing wine. Our motto has always been minimal intervention. The less we add to the wine, the more successful the wine is going to be. So we went for these old school amphoras, and we did those wines, and they're going to be ready by the end of May or maybe mid-June. It's an orange wine and a white skin contact that we're very excited about bringing to the market.
With regard to that, I remember I had seen Kareem before, not last year, the year before, and we were talking about, the subject of organic. We were talking about kosher wines. How'd that ever take place, and what's the status? Are people interested in organic wines? Kareem?
In organic wine, yeah, absolutely. I think there's absolutely a market for it. And then there's a whole discussion surrounding viticulture. And many of us, I believe all of us here today are members of Long Island Sustainable Wine Growing. Almost half of the producers on Long Island are members of this organization. Sustainability is a big part of what we do in every aspect of what we do, and especially in the vineyard. And I like to say that, you know, if you're growing wine, growing quality wine, if you're growing for quality, then you are, and you're looking to grow sustainably, you're actually doing one and the same. You're doing both at the same time. If you're doing one, you're accomplishing the other.
With regard to the vineyard business, you know, unfortunately, you had a couple of deaths over the last couple of years, you know, with Bedell on that. So there are some vineyards that are up for sale. Where are the prices, especially in light of COVID and in light of the changes? Are they still at the record highs, and who's coming in besides up from Mexico over here? Dan Abrams from ABC decided to come in. Who else is coming into the market over here?
I don't have the scoop, but I would say the barrier to entry into this region is very high because of real estate, because of there's an increased demand for second homeowners, and just higher than ever. Kareem and I were just discussing the prices on Long Island versus the Finger Lakes, and you know, the real estate prices just to get into the wine business on the North Fork is a tremendous barrier to some, which could be difficult.
Especially after COVID, right? I mean, people, Long Island is beautiful and it's so close to this huge city where everyone wants to be. So real estate prices are just going insane.
Do you commute?
During COVID, I just stayed out there in the North Fork, and it was amazing that I didn't have to go back and forth. Then you realize how much you can do through Zoom, right? So I'm probably going to be commuting a lot less now.
So where do you see the business, you know, since Gabriella and Kareem have been involved with the business for more than 20 years in different aspects? I think Kareem has been involved ever since he was born. Okay, Gabriella not too far away. Okay, where do you see the future? Where are the opportunities in the North Fork wine business? Gabriella?
I think opportunities is just really showing the world that we can make absolutely age-worthy, high-quality, complex, integrated, beautiful wine. And that's something that is really exciting, to meet a winemaker from Australia and bring them out and say, hey, come check out our vineyard, come taste our wines. Or London, all these, you know, London's one of the most booming wine markets. Come see what we can do. I think just setting the stage a little bit and proving that our reds are really getting better. I mean, Mark Squires, he's writing for the Robert Parker's Wine Advocate. He's been giving some really incredible reviews to these wines, and it's always great to have a third party kind of check in on your wines. And he's been retasting some of our old reds and increasing the score and saying, wow, this really aged and developed. And because we're such a young region, we hadn't had that opportunity before, you know, so now these wines are old and actually hanging in there. There's great acid, there's really long length. And I think that's, for me, the most exciting is the quality of the wine.
So, you know, here's a question for all of you. You're the second generation of the wine vineyards, okay, both of you. Do you see younger people coming in? I mean, Maria at 23 or 24 told her father we were going to go into the wine business, and he said, I don't know what you're doing, but, you know, I'll call it RG Wines, okay? Are you seeing young people coming into the business today? Gabriella?
Absolutely. We, our team is taking WSET classes. So the Wine and Spirit Education Trust, I know a lot of our teams are, and I think that the more educated the youth becomes about wine, the more we can spread the word about how great local wine is and how great it is to support a local region. So I'm seeing a lot of young, out of college, young students interested. And I think almost every university should have a wine tasting class, because it's great to start teaching at this youthful age. So it's really an exciting time.
Kareem, you were at Wharton, then private equity. Any regrets, and where do you see the next generation coming on?
You know, when I left the world of Wall Street and came out here, my father said things like, you know, we live in paradise, and I always thought that at first I didn't get it, but then I realized he was right. And he also said it's not about the money, and he's right about that too. It's not about the money, and it's about the lifestyle. And so we're very lucky and privileged to enjoy the lifestyle that we do as vintners anywhere on the globe. But here on the east end of Long Island, it really is special. The quality of our wines we're really already quite proud of, and I see a really bright future there. And as a winemaker, I'm really excited to continue growing wine here. But the rich bounty we have here from the other farmers that are out here, both on land and in the sea, I mean, and marrying that produce with our wines is just, you know, it's a culinary heaven. And so if you're into food and wine, it's a very exciting place to be right now. And as far as the young people on our board at Long Island Wine Country, you know, more than half our board are, I would say, describe them as young people, great young people. To women with us today, there's, I'd say, a much larger presence, let's say, of women in our industry than ever before.
One thing is certain, the wine business is going to continue to grow. And as my friend Drew Naporin always said, go to Tribeca and eat. I'm saying go to the North Fork and drink.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Gabriella, Kareem, and Maria. Hope to see you next week. And also, I hope to visit all of you this summer. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Michael.